What's up, everyone? Welcome into Dodger Heads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined today by Daniel Starkand, here to preview, on paper, Daniel, a series that sounds very exciting, but given where they are in the standings, may not be all that great. Dodgers and Braves, 4 games in Atlanta. Give me your reaction to just the idea of this series.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit it on the head. Like this was going into the season, like this was a highly touted series. These were, were predicted to be the two best teams in the league. Atlanta hasn't quite lived up to that. I would say these are probably the two most injured teams in the league.
Yeah.
Like if you combine the ILs of the Dodgers and Braves, you would have like an all-star team pretty much. So it's unfortunate that we're not getting, two powerhouses at full strength. But I will say there is a lot at stake this series. Like the Dodgers could really grab hold of the division and basically end the race if let's say they take 3 out of 4 this weekend or something like that. And then on the Atlanta side, they're fighting for their playoff lives here. So it's a super important series for them as well. So it may not have all the talent, that we were expecting on paper from these two teams, but as far as stakes go, they're pretty high.
Yeah, for those that aren't familiar with where the Braves are at, they're currently third in the National League East behind the Phillies and the Mets. They've won 5 of their last 10, just 6 of their last 13, which has put them a game out of the playoffs, which is crazy to think about the Atlanta Braves not making the playoffs. I have a rant somewhere in here about the Dodgers and consistency and despite injuries still winning their division, but that'll be for another day. The interesting thing to me, Daniel, is as I look ahead to a matchup like this, as I'm sure many people do, I go straight to the starting pitching matchups. And these, honestly, they're interesting, but it's also funny the way that these all play out because it feels like both teams are sending the same profile of guy into every one of these matchups. So right now we've got Landon Knack versus Spencer Schwellenbach, kind of the two unknowns, but who have both performed well. Schwellenbach, 3.78 ERA on the season. Landon Knack, of course, has been very good for the Dodgers. And then you've got kind of the maybe more veteran guys who are having their best seasons in a long time, Jack Flaherty versus Chris Sale. Then you've got a couple guys maybe on the other side of their prime in Walker Buehler versus Charlie Morton. And then finally, you've got Yamamoto versus Fried. So sometimes you see like, oh, great, like we're throwing Walker Buehler, Bobby Miller out there against their best pitcher. It feels like everybody's sending like their ones out together, their twos out together, their threes out together, and then their fours out together, basically.
Yeah, and I do think part of that is like, we're getting pretty close to the start of the playoffs here, and that's when you start to kind of arrange your rotation and, the order, and you line up the days. You go from game 1 of the NLDS backwards, and that's kind of where we're at right now. But I will say, like, as far as the Braves pitching staff goes, like, it's still really good. Like, that's kind of the only reason why they're still in the mix right now. Like, half of their lineup is out, like Acuna, Albies, Austin Riley. Those are 3 of their 4 best players probably, and they're all out. So they have been carried by their starting pitching. Like Chris Sale is going to win a Cy Young. Max Fried is obviously still really good. So as far as what's maybe interesting about the series, I do think there are some really good starting pitching matchups.
If you're looking at the Dodgers group there, again, it's Knack, it's Flaherty, it's Buehler, it's Yamamoto. Do you feel like these are evenly matched pitching matchups? Do you feel like there's a couple in there? I mean, because you mentioned as good as Flaherty has been, Chris Sale is going to win the Cy Young. So you would say advantage Braves on that one. Charlie Morton versus Walker Buehler. Morton is not having his best season. It's still better than Walker Buehler's. You'd probably say advantage Braves there. I think Knack and Yamamoto would be the 2 spots where maybe you feel like the Dodgers have a little bit of an advantage given Fried is very good, but it has been a down year by his standards, an ERA of almost 3.5. Like, do you feel like that's a pretty fair assessment that maybe 2 of these 4 games advantage Braves on rotation and 2 of these 4 games advantage Dodgers?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like, I think if you look across the board, the Braves might be slightly better, and you could argue probably all 4 of them. But I do
Yeah.
think the Dodgers aren't far behind in any of them as well. So, like, if like right now, I would say the Braves starting pitching is probably the best in the National League. But the fact that we're sitting here talking about how the Dodgers are, beat up and so many guys missing, and the fact that they're still like, just a slight tier below the Braves is honestly, a really positive sign, I'd say.
Yeah, and you're saying they're a slight tier behind them in starting pitching, obviously
Yeah,
not
yeah,
as a
yes,
franchise as a whole, to be clear. Because
yes,
I
and
know
I will say, like, as far as this series goes, like the Braves pitchers have to face the Dodgers lineup, and the
Yep.
Dodgers pitchers have to face the Braves lineup. So you could even argue, there's a big advantage for the Dodgers there.
Yeah, I would tweak the language. The Dodgers get to face the Braves lineup, whereas the Braves
Yeah,
pitchers have to face the Dodgers lineup. And that's
yeah,
why, look, the Dodgers are favored tonight. It's pretty much a dead even game, minus 112 for the Dodgers, minus 108 for the Braves. And so, where minus 110 is basically a pick 'em. So, Knack versus Schwellenbach, they've got it pretty much dead even on this one. And you mentioned, I mean, the key for the Dodgers is offensively, they're healthy right now. Knock on wood.
yeah.
They've got all their guys there. Otani is chasing 50-50. Whereas if you look across to the Braves, if you haven't been following this team, Daniel, you're going to pop your head up and look at the starting lineup and tonight and be like, wait, where is this guy? And where is this guy? And where is this guy? And where is this guy? Acuna, Riley. I mean, Murphy. There's guys just that have been banged up and they may be coming back or not coming back, but their offensive situation for the Braves is a mess, an unmitigated mess.
Yeah, yeah, and look, if you're the Dodgers, this is a chance. Like I was kind of saying earlier, like if you take 3 out of 4 here, you have a chance to. I don't want to say lock up the division, but you'll be in a really good spot if you have a good weekend here. There's only 2.5 weeks, we'll call it, left of the regular season. And look, who for all we know, the Braves could be a team you see down the line in the postseason. Like I know the Dodgers, I believe the Dodgers swept them in April in LA. So they kind of made a statement there, and now they have a chance to make another one here. Like I know the Braves. You're just talking about all the injuries, but I still think that's a pretty solid team. Like, and as far as who would the 6th seed be, like if the Dodgers were to end up in that 2 spot and they play the winner of 3-6, I know you and Blake talked about this last night, but that could be a team you end up seeing in the NLDS, down the road. So. A lot at stake this series, but I do think the Dodgers are the more talented team here. And, if they go out and hit the way they have been hitting,
Yeah.
They should be able to handle their business.
Yep, you mentioned it. May 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Dodgers win 4-3 in 11 innings in game 1, and then they win 11-2 and 5-1 in games 2 and 3 in that one. So Glasnow and Paxton were the winning pitchers in the last 2, by the way. Fun fact, just looking at the Braves lineups, by the way, Daniel, their starting second baseman on Wednesday was old friend Cavan Biggio. So if you want to know how things are
Oh,
going over in Atlanta, he started on Wednesday. No promises that he's going to be starting tonight, but he was
so
batting
we're
8th.
getting a Cavan Biggio revenge series is I think that's what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody warned Blake that his guy is going to be back in Dodger games, involved in Dodger games. All right, go out on this, Daniel. 4-game series in Atlanta. Day off yesterday for both teams. How many do the Dodgers win?
I think they win 3 out of the 4 games. I think they're the more talented team on paper, and I do think we're reaching that time where the offense, it has already started to click, but is really going to start to click, leading up to the postseason. And we talked about how good the Braves starting pitching is, but the Dodgers, are right there as well. And I just think lineup from top to bottom, like you just mentioned Cavan Biggio, the Braves are going to be trotting out 3 or 4 Cavan Biggios. That's just the reality they're living in right now, unfortunately, because of all the injuries and such. So there's a clear talent gap between the 2 teams. So I'll say 3 out of 4, but I do expect a competitive 4 games. Like there might be a couple close ones in there.
I'm with you. Give me 3 out of 4 for the Dodgers. Looking at some lines for tonight, I believe the Dodgers team total is 4.5 for total runs. And you can get even money on the Dodgers to score 5 or more runs. That's where my money would be placed tonight. With to quote my friend Daniel, with all due respect to Spencer Schwellenbach, give me the Dodgers to score 5 runs tonight. Let us know what you think in the comments below. 4-game series. How many do the Dodgers end up taking? And then make plans to be back here tonight for a live post-game show. I believe it is Matt and Anthony who will be on tonight, so make sure you join them as well. That is Daniel Starkand. I am Jeff Spiegel, folks. Enjoy the rest of your day. As always, go Dodgers.